Bob, who first arrived in Tokyo, was a has-been actor. The sponsoring company sent condolences. However, the Japanese pronunciation problem in English is that L and R are not distinguished. They are talking like a chicken speak to a duck and cannot communicate normally. He is nearly 50 years old. His marriage is dull. His career is at a low point. He is getting older and he is at a loss in life. What a terrible midlife crisis. So after receiving the advertisement for Japanese whiskey, he decided to go to Tokyo without hesitation. He originally wanted to relax under the cloak of work, but he still couldn't escape the troubles. His wife, who was thousands of miles away, sent a fax in the middle of the night asking for advice on the decoration in detail. Every conversation always started with the decoration and ended with the children. Due to the language barrier, the translator's limited abilities, and the difficulty in conveying the meaning of every sentence, the advertising shooting was delayed. Tired Bob could only cooperate with the director and start over again. In the elevator, he stood out from the crowd. The shower head in the bathroom was too short. Movies he had made were playing on the TV, but it was difficult to resonate with him because of the unintelligible Japanese dubbing. The bed was too short for him, and everything looked out of place. He sat on the edge of the bed, like an old chicken that had been knocked out and plucked. All the passion for survival had disappeared, and he was insomniac until dawn. The commercial shooting was still not completed, and another invitation came from a Japanese talk show. The agent accepted the cooperation for him, and the date of returning to the United States was postponed day by day. This unavoidable feeling of suffocation almost overwhelmed him. Bob came to the bar to get drunk, but found a blonde girl in the crowd. Their eyes intertwined across the distance. Being of the same kind, they instantly understand each other's loneliness and alienation. Her name is Charlotte, and she just graduated from Yale's philosophy department. This time she came to accompany her husband on a business trip. Compared with Bob, she is accompanied by her lover, but it is her lover who makes her feel lonely. The husband is a workaholic photographer. He goes out during the day and comes back very late, so he has no time to take care of his neglected wife. The accustomed relationship gradually lacked communication and passion, and there were signs of cracks in the 2-year marriage. To pass the time, she tried to get in touch with this strange city. She saw the cobweb-like lines on the subway and was puzzled. Even listening to the majestic and ancient bells in a quiet and peaceful temple cannot truly fill the loneliness and emptiness deep in the soul. She began to think about the meaning of marriage and where to go in the future. With no goal or direction, she cried and poured out her feelings to her friends, but all she got in return was absent-minded prevarication. It seems that when a woman gets married, she has completed the required courses in life. No one cares about the rest of life. Charlotte asked the waiter to bring Bob a glass of sake, and they made an initial impression, but Bob's good mood was quickly ruined by the elliptical machine in the gym. The machine that only spoke Japanese seemed to be working against him, accelerating like crazy but unable to stop. The next day, he limped out of the hotel to face the extremely boring but necessary filming. At the same time, her husband met his former employer Kelly in the hotel. This girl was outgoing, noisy and shallow. She talked a lot of nonsense in her head. She talked about Buddhism and Taoism that she didn't understand at the press conference. Charlotte couldn't help but pointed out that Kelly, what she said was wrong, but her husband accused her that she should not do this and that life does not need to be so serious and rigorous. Two people who were equally insomniac and frustrated came to the bar together. Bob has the characteristics and humor of a middle-aged man, as well as the wisdom accumulated through vicissitudes of life. He talked about his 25-year marriage. Excluding 1/3 of his sleep time, his marriage was still a little over 16 years old. It was as controllable as a teenager, but there would still be accidents occasionally. After the two people talked about marriage and career, they became each other's life-saving straw during the long night. During the day, they tried their best to discover the surprises in life, whether it was swimming or wandering around Tokyo, but they found that they could not integrate into the happiness of the locals, and they could not find any expectations for life at all. At the beginning of the night, Charlotte attends a party of her husband's friends. During the dinner, Kelly talked about anorexia in her family, and tried her best to prove that she didn't need to lose weight to have a good figure. Another friend talked about new music he was researching, and she wasn't interested at all. Although she is among the crowd, she is also outside the crowd. Then she noticed Bob in the corner, two equally incompatible souls standing together. He said that he was planning to escape from prison, first to escape from this bar, and then to escape from this city and this country. Do you want to participate? She said, count me in. Loneliness is their common language and the road to the soul. On the third day, her husband went to another city to take photos, leaving Charlotte alone in Tokyo. Bob on the other side received a package from his wife on the other side of the ocean, asking him to pick a carpet of his favorite color to lay out the study. The irritable two people came to the swimming pool at the same time, and there was too much time for them, so Charlotte invited him to attend her friend's party, and Bob readily agreed. He deliberately wore camouflage t-shirt that made him feel good about himself. Charlotte criticized mercilessly that this dress revealed a midlife crisis. Bob then wore his t-shirt inside out, and he looked much younger. The two of them came to the pub where they met with friends, which was full of local young people. They looked very happy, except for the older Bob, who was a little at a loss. Fortunately, the young people were very tolerant, and he quickly relaxed. Talking awkwardly with strangers is not very smooth, but it is better to be sincere and friendly. At this moment, Charlotte's friend had a conflict with the bartender. The other party violently attacked with a toy gun, and several people ran away. The bartender chased after them, and they ran away in front of them, sometimes stopping and continuing to provoke. Charlotte led Bob through the noisy game hall, through the busy streets, and then to a friend's house to continue having fun. Put aside your past identity, meet new friends, and forget all your worries. They opened their voices, enjoyed the moment of passion brought by life, and were as happy as children. When tired of playing, they would tacitly agree to go outside and light a cigarette. Warily, they would put their heads on each other's shoulders and lean against each other, conveying a hint of comfort and ambiguity with their fingertips. On the way back, Charlotte fell into a deep sleep. Bob carried her back to the hotel room, covered her with a quilt, said good night, and then returned to his room. It seemed that this night's experience brought back the beauty of the past. He took the initiative to call his wife, and happily shared what he had seen in Tokyo. But before she finished speaking, the wife talked about trivial family matters again, and then hung up the phone in a hurry, leaving a disappointed Bob who couldn't sleep all night. On the fourth day, he had a rare break, so he met Charlotte at a street shop. A few days ago, her foot was injured because it hit a table leg, and Bob insisted on taking her to the hospital. Playing with the wheelchair like children, the two of them guessed and actually found the correct clinic. Charlotte's toe was fine and they held hands on the way back. When Charlotte returned to the hotel, she looked through her husband's work diary, and looked at the sweet photos of the two, and the beautiful moments from the past came to mind again. Bob and Charlotte use a casual way to go everywhere, warm each other, and resist loneliness together. They were out of breath running on the street, laughing relaxed and self-satisfied. When you are relaxed, it seems that the scary monster really doesn't show up anymore. The commercial Bob shot soon appeared on the promotional truck, and she asked him to say hello to his other self. The soft shell of a middle-aged man was exposed this night. They drank wine and lay in the same bed. Charlotte spoke her mind. Her life seemed to be stuck. She had doubts about this marriage, and she had no direction at all for the future. Bob said that everyone has been lost at some stage. Confused youth, midlife crisis, fear of old age. They have lost their sense of the world, cannot let go, fear of the future, and it is difficult for us to mention the disappointment in marriage. My wife and I used to have a lot of laughs, but now she only talks about the kids and the house and nothing else. When you have children, life will become complicated. You will slowly watch them grow up. Because you often travel for work, they will gradually get used to your absence, and you will suddenly feel lost. Bob comforted Charlotte. You can still be saved. There is still a long way to go in life. You should try boldly. Although it is difficult, once you find what you love, your life will suddenly become brighter. They talked about life and marriage, but he never talked about love. He just reached out and touched his feet slightly, which was the most extreme intimacy between the two of them. Everything comes from emotion and ends with reason. On the fifth day, Bob volunteered to appear on a kitsch talk show just to delay his return, while Charlotte got on the train to Kyoto. This place is more ancient and rustic than Tokyo. In a temple, a traditional Japanese wedding is taking place. The groom holds an umbrella for the bride, followed by the accompanying family members. The bride slowly hands her hand to the groom's. Love, trust, responsibility, family. The corner of her mouth curled up with a soft smile, as if she understood what marriage was in an instant. Bob received a call from his wife. It was about the details of the decoration. The color of the carpet was more about him than about him care. Lonely Bob comes to the bar. Faced with the red-haired woman's initiative to strike up a conversation, he was so empty that he couldn't control it, and was caught by Charlotte, who came back. It was obvious that she was a little jealous, and she couldn't help but say angrily at the table, "You and her are quite suitable. You are the same age and have common topics." But Bob said, "Don't you pay attention to other things?" The implication is that he only has a physical relationship with the red-haired woman, and the real spiritual communication with Charlotte is, tonight will be Bob's last night away. Their eyes met each other, There was too much attachment and a strange ambiguity flowing in the night. This indescribable feeling becomes restrained and hazy because of the mutual sympathy and loneliness. Their eyes kept flickering in the elevator, and they were both a little nervous. They hesitated to speak several times, and finally kissed them with a good night ceremony, which was slightly embarrassing. The next morning, he could go directly to the airport, but he wanted to see Charlotte one last time, through a last farewell call. In front of many staff members, the two could only bid farewell politely. On the way to the airport, maybe it was God's arrangement that Bob saw Charlotte's back through the car window. He immediately asked the driver to stop the car, pushed aside the bustling crowd on the streets of Tokyo, hugged her tightly, and caressed her hair, and then gave her the purest kiss goodbye. It is no longer important whether it is love, affection, or fate. They always have to take on the neglected responsibilities. Since then, it is difficult to see each other again. With this parting that is cherished in their hearts, they once again have the courage to fight against the world. Life goes on and the city is still noisy. Lost people are still searching. The sadness of a literary disease continues to spread. Every time it gets dark, the night is a rich theater. We are the audience in the audience, and the protagonists on the stage. We all like the busy world and appear cheerful. Unfortunately, there is a timer alarm clock in your heart that rings on time at midnight to remind you how lonely you are. Getting lost at this point is a lifelong habit. When everyone faces their own heart, they will ask over and over again in their hearts. Sometimes it's a person, sometimes it's a thing. Maybe you will also think about the purpose of life, the meaning of life, and finally think about self-doubt, becoming anxious, lonely and empty, with no one to talk to, or even not wanting to talk. In fact, loneliness is not a terrible thing. Lonely people are not necessarily unhappy. Lonely people may not be strong. Life is occasionally poetic, but it does not affect the scenery and sunset. A writer once said that half of it is free and easy in the rain, and half of it is traveling in spring. It is a bit sad and yearning. The real strong people in life take out their hearts in the dead of night, so and mend them themselves, surrender to life during the day, and surrender to their souls at night. This is HKY Movies. Looking forward to seeing you in the next movie.